Scrooged is a delightful twist on Charles Dickens' classic tale, A Christmas Carol. The film stars Bill Murray as Frank Cross, a selfish television executive who experiences a transformative journey on Christmas Eve. Filled with humor and a touch of the supernatural, Scrooged offers a modern and entertaining take on the timeless themes of redemption and the true spirit of Christmas. Francis Frank Xavier Cross, a self-centered and cynical executive overseeing television programming, holds the prestigious position of president at the IBC network. Despite achieving considerable success and wealth, Frank's journey to the top has made him cold-hearted and arrogant. The initial scenes of the film portray Frank Cross and his team laboring on a commercial for a TV show, despite Frank's dissatisfaction with the project. Interestingly, the team has been airing their version for a month, garnering positive responses from the audience. Disagreeing with this success, Frank decides to present his own rendition of the commercial. However, when the mild-mannered staff member Elliot Loudermilk criticizes the unsettling TV commercial, Frank responds by terminating Loudermilk's employment on Christmas Eve. His relentless focus on his career has distanced him from his family, maintaining only a distant connection with his brother James, who is now his sole living blood relative. Frank's demanding work habits extend to overworking his assistant, Grace Cooley, compelling her to repeatedly cancel plans with her family and neglect her mute son Calvin. He went so far as to rip apart the drawing her son had crafted and displayed on her desk. Frank's boss, Preston Rhinelander, visits him with an idea targeting the animal audience and hires an assistant, the opportunistic Bryce Cummings, who transparently after Frank's position. That evening, he attended an event where he is awarded the Humanitarian Award of the Year. Following the event, he returned to his office to continue working. Assigned to oversee a live Christmas Eve broadcast of A Christmas Carol, Cross's life starts resembling the story he's producing. The decomposed remains of his mentor, media mogul Lou Hayward, who had passed away 7 years ago due to a heart attack, returned to deliver a message about the errors in Frank's ways. According to Lou, all my success and prestige ended on the 14th hole when I dropped dead, and he warns that a similar fate awaits Frank. Lou also predicts the visitation of 3 ghosts. After dropping Frank from his office building, Frank initially believes it to be a nightmare. He wakes up in his office, and Lou manipulates Frank's phone to call Claire Phillips, Frank's compassionate ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, in Grace's apartment, unable to afford a Christmas tree after being denied her bonus, her kids playfully transformed her youngest son Calvin into a Christmas tree. The following day, Frank received news that an elderly woman passed away while watching his ads featuring Scrooge. Interestingly, he expressed excitement upon hearing the news. Supervising the production set, his ex-girlfriend, Claire, paid him a visit and inquired about the frightened tone in his voice message the previous night. However, Frank was uncertain about what happened. Being occupied on the set, Claire handed him her business card in case he needed assistance and then departed. As Frank remained occupied, facing frustration and a series of mishaps on the set, he decided to have lunch with his boss. Over the meal, his boss informed him about hiring Bryce to collaborate with Frank. When the clock struck noon, Frank began experiencing hallucinations. In a sudden recollection, he remembered Lou's warning about being visited by the first ghost at noon. Anxious, he rushed outside and hailed a taxi, only to discover that the first ghost had taken the form of the taxi driver, transporting Frank back to his 1955 childhood. In this era, Frank's mother, Doris Cross, is watching the Lone Ranger with him until his inebriated and irate father, Earl Cross, returns home from a grueling day at the meatpacking plant. Earl gives young Frank a Christmas present of veal, despite Frank's desire for a train set. Mrs. Cross informs Earl that he was supposed to go to the toy store, but Earl dismissively insists that Frank should buy his own toys. The ghost criticizes Frank for his lack of initiative in his youth, particularly his penchant for watching TV. The journey then shifts to Frank's late teens in 1968, during his first job at the TV station. Outside the Christmas party, he meets Claire. The scene transitions to 1969, depicting Frank's first anniversary with Claire, marked by a simple yet meaningful Christmas celebration. The Ghost of Christmas Past concludes the journey in 1971, the pivotal year when Frank chose his job as Frisbee the dog over spending time with Claire. This decision led to a dinner with Lou Hayward, then president of the network, instead of with friends. The sequence illuminates the gradual transformation of Frank into the present-day man, influenced first by his blue-collar father and later by choices that prioritized career advancement over personal connections. It is at this moment they broke up. Back at the current time, he attempts to reassure himself that he made the right decision in letting her go by engaging in self-talk, sounding like a person on the verge of madness. He continues to talk aimlessly as he makes his way to the shelter she manages. Upon finding her, he confesses his regrets, but noting her busy schedule, he changes his mind and departs. At the film set, he sees Bryce running the production. During their dinner break, the second ghost appeared. The ghost of Christmas Present manifests as a life-sized pixie with a cheerful and childlike demeanor that contrasts sharply with her occasional violent actions. She reveals to Frank the impact of his stinginess on Grace's family, leading to their impoverished living conditions, and highlights the emotional longing his brother experiences due to Frank's absence. Following the second ghost's intervention, Frank is now back at the production set. While in his office and after opening his brother's gift for him, Elliot Loudermilk, now unhinged and inebriated after a Christmas spent on the streets, barges into the office wielding a double-barrel shotgun with the intent to harm Frank. Attempting to flee via the elevator, he encounters the ghost of Christmas Future, a towering 7-foot-tall specter with a TV screen in place of its face. It presents Frank with a grim future, depicting Calvin in a mental hospital, Claire adopting a cold and indifferent demeanor similar to Frank's, and only James and his wife attending Frank's sparsely attended and sterile cremation. Feeling the searing heat on his body, Frank at last acknowledges the errors of his ways and pleads for a second chance. Suddenly, he finds himself back in his office, just as the live broadcast is nearing its climax. The transformed Frank reinstates Loudermilk with a substantial salary increase and recruits his assistants to hijack the live broadcast. Stepping in front of the rolling studio cameras, Frank extends heartfelt wishes for a Merry Christmas to his viewers. Calvin, silenced since witnessing his father's demise, utters the iconic words of Tiny Tim, proclaiming, "God bless us, everyone," liberating himself from his mute state. Claire hurries to the studio with the aid of the ghost of Christmas Past, who offers her a ride. On set, Frank reconciles with her, and they share a romantic kiss as Grace and the other television workers begin singing "Put a Little Love in Your Heart." Looking up, Frank sees Lou Hayward and the ghosts approvingly acknowledge him before vanishing. And the movie ends here. Thank you for watching, and I highly recommend watching the entire movie as it is incredibly enjoyable. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, so you can stay updated and receive notifications whenever we upload new videos.